You've seen the headlines, you've heard the news. Mamdani seems to have pulled a rent freeze across New York City, but that's not the whole truth. I'm Ruge, I run a boutique real estate brokerage here in New York City. Today I'm going to lay out what you need to know about this new policy, how it'll affect you, and what it'll do to the New York City real estate market. First and foremost, this rent freeze is not permanent and it doesn't apply to everybody. All New York City residential leases can be broken down into three categories: rent-controlled, rent-stabilized, and market rate. Rent-controlled apartments are increasingly rare these days, and interesting enough, this rent freeze doesn't apply to rent-controlled apartments. If you're in a rent-stabilized unit, you're in for a treat if you renew your lease between October 1st, 2026 through September 30, 2027. And if you're in a market rate unit, unfortunately, you're not getting anything out of it, and your rent may go up even more. So how this rent freeze works is only through the rent stabilization system. It's not a law, and it's only good for a year. In the city, there is a body called Rent Guidelines Board. It's made up of 9 members, 6 of which was appointed by Mamdani this year. The Rent Guidelines Board vote every year to decide the upcoming year's legal limit of rent increases in all rent-stabilized units across the city. This year, the board voted 7-1 to essentially freeze it, set the limit at 0%. One representative of the board resigned in protest, claiming that the outcome was decided before anyone even walked into the room to discuss. This matters because it opens the possibility of a legal challenge of the outcome. All of this means that this rent freeze really only applies to rent-stabilized units across the city, and you can only take advantage of it if you renew your lease between October 1st, 2026 through September 30, 2027. On top of that, the board also voted that if you renew a 2-year lease during this period of time, you can also take advantage of the 0% increase. So if you're in the winner's bucket, congratulations. You'll actually be able to take a break from the constant rent increases here in New York City. Unfortunately for others, this might just make things even harder. If you're in a market rate unit, not only will this policy not freeze your rent, it might actually drive your rent up even further. When millions of apartments have their rate frozen, that's every reason for the current renter to stay put. All of a sudden, much fewer of these units are going to hit the market. And if supply shrinks, prices of available units, aka market rate units, are going to go up. Especially when these market rate units have no protection on rent increases whatsoever. So this rent freeze is meant to help housing affordability. It's going to make unregulated market units, which is most units, even more expensive, combined with the fact that rent-controlled units aren't even included. That's the irony that people aren't talking about. Not to make things worse, but even if you're in a rent-stabilized unit, the future may not be so bright forever. The Rent Guidelines Board's own research actually found that landlord costs rose 5.3% this year. And this includes repairs, utilities, taxes, insurance, everything. When revenue is frozen and the cost goes up, guess what's going to happen? They are going to cut corners. Critics argue that this is how you end up with deferred repairs and slowly deteriorating buildings. A frozen rent isn't going to help much if the boiler's out and no one's fixing it. Last but not least, if you're in the buying and selling side of the market, this policy will affect you as well. Because the rent freeze doesn't touch condos and co-ops, essentially market rate units, rents for these units are gonna go up. At the same time, you'll see more people stuck in market rate units thinking about buying versus selling, and more people will enter the buying market because of that. An increase in demand combined with higher rent potentials equals an increase in prices, especially for entry-level condos. Of course, the effects on condos are going to be much more indirect and nuanced. But especially if interest rates comes down in the next year or so, you're going to see an increase in demand on entry-level condos. If you're going to be in the city long term and you're looking at market rate rent hikes, maybe this is your time to think of buying, and you should do it before everyone else decides to do it. And of course, buying is a big decision and it's not the right decision for everybody. If you're not sure about your own situation and you would like some advice, there's a link down below to book a free consultation with me personally. To summarize, the rent freeze is still a good thing if it applies to you, and you should take advantage of it if it makes sense for your life goals. Before you go, I read this market for a living and I guide people through all things real estate, whether it's renting, buying, selling, property management. My information is here and in the link below. Feel free to reach out to me for any real estate needs. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. I'm Ruge, see you in the next one.